Today on The Big Story, a faster way for travelers to clear migration by using artificial intelligence. Earning money by hacking government IT systems to squash bugs. Companies must do more in greying Singapore. Find out why. Hello and welcome to The Big Story, where we'll discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Dylan Ng, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Now, for our first story, the dreaded queues and wait at immigration checkpoints in Singapore will become faster by 2025 thanks to artificial intelligence or AI. Technologies such as fingerprint, facial and iris scans will make it a more seamless experience for travellers. Speaking at the Singapore FinTech Festival today, Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat unveiled Singapore's new national AI strategy. And there will be 5 key national AI projects in security, healthcare, education, smart estates and logistics. To signal the importance Singapore is putting on AI, the government has committed over $500 million for digital technologies under the Research, Innovation and Enterprise 2020 plan. To tell us more, we have tech correspondent Yip Wai Yi. Hey Wai Yi.
Hey Dylan.
Welcome to the show. Now Wai Yi, why were these 5 key projects chosen?
Okay, so they were chosen because they can have enough of a social impact, but they can also deliver quick results. So some of the elements of these projects have been in the works for a while, and it just makes sense to build upon them rather than start something completely new and do R&D for the next 10 years. So for example, the healthcare project, it uses this AI software system called Selena Plus, and which analyzes retinal photographs for major eye conditions, and it does it much faster than humans can. And then meanwhile, the education project, they have this automated marking system that will free up teachers' jobs because it will apparently help them to auto-mark English language assignments. I'm not sure how well that's going to work, but yeah.
So, which one of these 5 key projects are you most excited about?
Definitely the border security. I mean, everyone likes to travel, right? So, and who doesn't want a fuss-free travel experience? So apparently going forward, we may not even need to use our passports anymore because they will have something called a breeze-through immigration procedure where you literally just walk through.
I see. Now, Wai, just to end things off, why the emphasis on AI? Is this something that has been, something in the making for some time?
So AI is expected to disrupt and transform lives in every sector. So a lot of nations are paying close attention to AI. So for example, for Singapore, we started our Smart Nation journey 5 years ago, and AI, I think, is just the next natural step in this journey. So in many ways, we're very open to AI here. So just 2 months ago in September, the Global Cities AI Disruption Index actually ranked Singapore as number 1 in a list of 105 cities that it considers most ready for AI disruption. So I'm sure we'll see a lot more AI applications in our lives.
Thank you. Thanks, Wai Yi, for sharing, for coming into the studio. Of course, if you'd like to read the full article, you can always visit our website at straitstimes.com. And once again, thanks, Wai Yi, for coming on the show. Now, moving on to our next story, how can you earn money from the government if you are a hacker? Well, you can if you're an ethical hacker. Now, also known as white hats, they have been tapped on to weed out bugs and stress test the security of 12 internet-facing government systems. Set to take place from November 18 to December 8, a special bonus of $680 will be awarded to participants who find bugs in mobile applications. This bonus will be in addition to the typical rewards given out for the program, which range from $250 to $10,000 depending on the severity of the discovered vulnerability. Some of the 12 systems to be tested include the Ministry of Home Affairs eFocus and Eyewitness Web Services, and the Health Promotion Board's Health Hub app. We have journalist Haris Baharudin in the studio now to tell us more. Hey Haris.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Now Haris, this is the 3rd bug bounty program. And there certainly seems to be some emphasis placed on finding bugs in mobile apps, right?
Correct. So this is the 3rd, like you said, it's the 3rd Bug Bounty Program, or BPP for short. And it's the first time the government actually given an added incentive of US $500 for whoever finds a bug in a mobile app. So I think we can see that this is sending a strong message that mobile threats are not to be ignored, that they can be a bit more complicated to detect, I think, and I think the government wants to make sure that we all don't take them lightly. Yeah, so we can see it in this round also, in this round of systems that will be tested in the bug bounty program. It seems to be a few more in terms of mobile apps. So you have your Health Hub app from HPB, you have your My ENV app from the NEA. So you can tell that there seems to be a sort of focus on mobile apps this time around.
Right. I mean, Haris, speaking of threats, just how serious the threat of cyber risk?
Oh, it's definitely very serious. I think in the course of the last few months or years, we've seen a lot of moves from the government to address this threat. I think the BBPs that have been organizing, it's a third one this time, is the next step of the government showing that it's doing all it can to sort of find these vulnerabilities and plug them. So I think it's reflected by this desire to actually make sure any kind of risk that can be eliminated is eliminated by crowdsourcing this risk through these bug bounty programs. So far, they've enlisted 700 people in these bug bounty programs to have found, I think it was 14 vulnerabilities so far.
Wow.
And those are 14 bugs that might not have been found if they did not enlist the help of the public or people who are outside the government systems. So I do think that the involvement of the public, of people outside the government, reflects this strong desire that, hey, we're all in this together, let's all work together to safeguard our public systems and to make sure that cyber risks are fended off as best as possible.
Right, I think you brought up a really good point. I think cyber risks are always going to get worse. It's going to be even more severe.
Because it's a game of cat and mouse, I think. As we develop ways to fortify our defenses, the bad actors out there will also concurrently develop ways to get past those systems too. So it really is about trying our best to stay ahead of the attackers and really trying to make sure they don't outpace us. And I think through these bug bounty programs, it's a good step in trying to make sure that we don't lose out to them.
It's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Haris, for coming on the show and for telling us a little bit more about this issue. Now, if you'd like to read the full story, you can always head on down to our website at straitstimes.com. And now on to What's Trending, where Kim will tell us the top trending stories today. Kim?
Thanks, Dylan. First up, a Singapore-owned shopping mall in Hong Kong suffered extensive damage after protesters attacked it last night. Festival Walk is owned by Singapore-listed Mapletree North Asia Commercial Trust. Protesters smashed glass panels and decorative railings on several floors, and even the Christmas tree within the mall was set on fire. I guess the protesters aren't really feeling the Christmas spirit just yet. And in China, a man in Guangdong province complained of a sharp pain inside his right ear, only to find a family of cockroaches inside it. More than 10 baby cockroaches and their larger mother were pulled out from his ear canal. It was suspected that this could be due to the man leaving unfinished food packets near his bed. Maybe you should double check your bed before you go to sleep tonight. And finally, have you been having trouble breathing while out and about? It might be because that the haze is back. According to NEA's website, the 24-hour PSI readings in the south and east of Singapore have hit unhealthy levels of 101. The PSI readings for the rest of Singapore are currently in the moderate range. Let's hope it doesn't get worse. Stay safe out there. And that's all for What's Trending today. If you have seen a story that you want to share, do tag us using the hashtag #STBigStory. Back to you, Dylan.
Well, thanks, Kim. Now, for our last story, Singapore is a world leader in coping with an aging population, but there is more to be done. This was noted in a paper titled A Longevity Agenda for Singapore, written by economics professor Andrew Scott of London Business School. The 15-page paper forecasts that by 2050, half the population here will be aged 65 years and older, so it is crucially important that it invests and focuses on a longevity agenda. I'm joined now by Senior Health Correspondent Salma Khalid. Hey, Salma.
Hello, Dylan.
Now, Salma, let's get straight into it. What are some of the suggestions the paper talks about that Singapore needs to make?
Okay, first, can I just step back and say that a lot of babies born today can expect to live 100 years, right? So we are not talking about fantasy, reality.
Right.
Secondly, life getting longer doesn't mean that you get longer old lives. It's actually like an accordion. So you get more or less longer childhood, longer middle age, longer everything.
Everything is stretched out.
All the way stretched out. So what does that mean? That means you are going to live longer, you need to work longer, otherwise you can't afford to live longer. But working longer doesn't mean just staying in the same job all the time. So one interesting point I found in the story is that they said it's important for countries to introduce working life education. So for example, if you're an engineer, right? 20 years after graduation, 30 years after graduation, did the things you studied at school, are they still relevant today?
No.
Probably not, right. So therefore, companies should regularly, every 10, 20 years, have refresher courses for these people to keep them current. And then there's another point I thought was very interesting, and that is social context. When people get older, you need to maintain your social contact. Some of them are singles, they may not have families. And then when you retire, what do you do? So therefore, you need to have this very strong social cohesion, friendship, etc. So these are things you should build from the time you're young. Keep your friends. Don't lose your friends when you get too busy working.
Well said. Well, Salma, you talked a little bit about this earlier on, but let's focus on the topic of older workers in particular. Now, how do we currently fare in terms of older workers that are employed in Singapore?
Okay, there are two things, right? So the government is trying to make it possible for people to work longer, but a lot of people themselves don't want to work longer. They say retirement age should be 55 in my parents' day, maybe 60, 62. Why am I working so long? What they don't realize is many of them who are 65 today will live to 85, 90, 95. Right. So there are two things. The opportunities are there in some cases. People may not want. And it's the same happening in a lot of other countries. So worldwide, how do we fare? Actually, I think we are behind Japan and ahead of a lot of other countries in terms of 60, 65-year-olds who are still working. Yeah. I think more than almost half people 60 to 64 are still working.
Yeah. It's quite a significant number.
That is. But with our retirement age going up, I expect the number to also go up.
Well, thanks, Salma, for sharing and giving us some insight on this matter. Now, those were the top stories of the day. For more news and videos, do head on down to our website at straitstimes.com. And once again, I'm Dylan. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.